Man, that was a good nap. We fucking needed that.
Yeah, for sure. We spent just way too many nights staying up late playing video games and reading comics. It was time for like a solid 18 hours of sawing logs.
You know, dude, I gotta... Oh, no. Wait a minute. Shit.
What?
Looks like you set the pods wrong, dude. It says here it's been 18 days.
We've been asleep for 18 days? Ah, shit.
Emergency hydration required.
Not now, Cooler Bot. We just woke up.
We'll let you know when we need you. Don't worry.
Man, Cooler Bot looks just like I feel.
Robotic and humid?
Yes.
Dude, I had the weirdest fucking dream.
Yeah?
Okay. We were back on LV-426. Everything was the same, sorta, but also, like, different.
What do you mean? Different how?
Like, okay, the colony was there, but it had the prison from Fury 161, like, attached to it as part of the complex.
Whoa.
And there were a whole bunch of, like, weird guys running around. There was, like, synths with a bunch of guns and, like, rogue Wayland guards and xenomorphs of all shapes and all sizes just running around doing stuff. Man, I don't know.
You know, I had a weird dream too, but the details are already a little hazy. Something about a bone ship?
Whatever that is, it sounds metal as hell, dog.
Welcome to Crew Expendable. I am Prestige Rank 64, Hallstrom.
And I am assigned 30 levels worth of chores, Rohrbacher.
And we're just a couple of, I don't know, hardcore gamers blasting our way through the Alien franchise.
Love it.
I'm still waking up.
For sure.
And it's been a minute, hasn't it, Kenny? We had
It's been a little while. Yeah, we had a
couple weeks off there.
Yeah, we took some time off, not necessarily on purpose at the beginning, but you know, it's what we needed to do as it turns out. So it's fine.
Yeah. Sorry about the absence, folks. But we're here. We're back, and we are back to talk about something we kind of already talked about a little bit, didn't we, Kenny?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we are here to talk about the 1996?
96, yes.
First-person shooter Alien Trilogy. Something we also tackled on a live stream a few weeks ago on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@crewexpendable. If you want to see some gameplay of this bad boy, I booted it up on the PlayStation version on the PlayStation 3, and Kenny hopped on audio, watched me play. People in the chat were there having a good time. I think I lasted like 22 or 23 minutes or something like that before I died, and then we just punched in cheat codes to check out all the levels.
I think you got to like the 4th or 5th level before you... Yeah. I don't remember if you actually did die or if you just decided, all right, I'm just going to start cheating.
No, I game overed. I was like out of ammo with a pistol trying to take down like a warrior or whatever, a xenomorph, and it was we're done. You can check the video out for yourselves on our YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that right in the show notes as well. I'm going to plug a couple other things here up top. I'm going to put links to these in the show notes too, since, it's been a minute. I recently did an episode of a podcast called Debate of the Dead, where I got to talk about Evil Dead Rise for 3 hours, and that was a lot of fun. I'm going to throw a link in there. And our friend Corey and our friends Liam and Mitch, who do the They Made Another One podcast, also recently covered, I think it was just Corey and Liam on the episode, recently covered Alien Resurrection on their show. Really rubbing it in that they beat us to that, although it's not a competition. And I mean, they had to talk about it first. So who's the real loser here? If you want to get like a, just in it, I'm going to call it an absolutely insane outsider's opinion of the Alien franchise, folks.
That's fair. That's fair.
They made another one. I'll throw a link to that episode in there as well. Corey, of course, is my co-host on MK PodQuest. Check out that show too. Weird to start with plugs up top, but I wanted to get those in so people can check out those other things.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because I do feel like we've talked about Alien Trilogy already while we were playing it.
We sure did.
Not everybody's going to go to the YouTube channel. Not everybody's going to watch. It was like 2.5 hours, right?
Yeah, right around there, yeah.
And, we're big believers in keeping the podcast the main thing, right?
That's right.
So we want to cover this classic here. And I am using that word classic unironically because I do think this is a very good boomer shooter.
It got good reviews. A lot of even like retrospective reviews from like made within the last few years have also like talked about how it's pretty good. The PlayStation 1 version is generally considered to be like the base, like default version of the game.
Sure.
And then it got ported to Saturn and MS-DOS. So like, the PS1 version is considered like the main version.
Right.
And it generally has reviews hovering around 80% or so.
That's about right.
And, it was originally released in like the tall box, but
yeah, it was.
It got reprinted because it got the green greatest hits stripe, indicating that it sold really well. So It was re-released as like in a jewel case as a green greatest hits game. So yeah, the game sold pretty well. It got pretty good reviews. Even now, like in retro reviews, people are still talking about how it's a pretty good game. It is generally pretty highly regarded for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to see if the mic picks this up. I don't know if anyone can hear that plastic clanking around. That is my PlayStation long box copy.
I did not hear anything, but I'm sure you'd be able to add it in post.
Okay, well, it picked up on my side. So we're going to do this again, though. Hold on. This is an ASMR podcast. Now, if you guys can hear that, that is my Sega Saturn long box copy.
Ooh, nice.
And real quick, if anybody can hear that, that is my MS-DOS copy of Alien Trilogy, which I have never played. The manual has some water damage. This was an eBay pickup for like around $9 recently because I was like, well, I should have a trilogy of Alien trilogies, right? It's in the name.
That's right.
I have a trilogy of Mortal Kombat trilogies. I have PlayStation, Saturn, and Nintendo 64 versions. So if a game has trilogy in it, and it's available on 3 systems, I need to get all 3 versions. That's my personal sickness.
I, meanwhile, technically own 0 copies of it, but do, like, practically speaking in real world terms, do have it because I illegally pirated a PS1 copy of it onto my Steam Deck, and that's how I played it.
Well, I'm fine with that.
Fine.
I told the story on the stream that the Saturn version that I have is technically my second copy because my first copy I sold for a bunch of money with plans to get the Japanese version because it was way cheaper. Like I think I sold Trilogy for like $100 or something like that. And then I was like, well, good. I'll just get the Japanese version for like 30 and make that money because I can play imports. It's not a problem. And I collect those too. And then never got around to doing that and then came across this copy in really good shape for a pretty reasonable price and bought it a second time.
That's fair. That's fair.
Am I a smart consumer? No, not always.
It's fine.
Yeah, but I was like, it was bothering me. See, what happened was I got the PlayStation version in long box, and then I was like, I really should have kept that long box Saturn version because I love a long box. I really do like those cases. I'm maybe the only person in the world who prefers them because they break all the time and they're fragile and but something cool about the long boxes. I don't know. More details about this game. It was now we said it was ported to the Saturn and the PC, and the PlayStation version is kind of like the default version. I think that was just because the PlayStation was the biggest seller at the time.
It was also the first one of the 3 to come out.
Was it? Did it release first?
Yeah, it came out in late February of 96. The other ones came out in like I think May and December or November maybe of 96.
You are correct. February for PlayStation, August. These are North American dates. August 8th for Saturn and December 2nd for DOS. So you are correct. Fair point. But they were all developed by Probe Entertainment, which was a subsidiary of Acclaim Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Probe did a ton of the Acclaim published games on the Sega Genesis, things we will all be familiar with, like Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam, to name two. Or was that Ocean? We're not going to get into this here.
Yeah. I don't remember. So
yeah, and then distributed by Fox Interactive, which makes sense, right?
A fun little side note here, since we're talking about the release. I was poking around for some info on this because listeners, you may be aware of the fact that I've gone on record before that I can't play games set in first person. And as I believe Neal mentioned earlier, this is a first person shooter.
Yes.
So for medical reasons, I was not able to play the entire game. So because I was worried that meant I wouldn't have much to say, I sat down and scoured the internet for a bunch of like factoids and trivia and stuff, so I would actually have something to talk about on this episode.
Sure.
And I came across something interesting on like a Saturn fan website that somebody was running.
You have to send me a link to that.
Apparently, this game was originally intended to come out in 1994 for the Sega CD.
Wow, dude.
And then it got changed to the 32X instead. And then it got delayed. And during the delay, they made the game multi-platform. And the PS1 version ended up being the one that came out first.
Huh, that's pretty wild.
But yeah, this was originally supposed to be a Sega CD game, so...
Okay. I think that they're smart to have not done that.
Yeah, because that also implies that, like, I can't say for sure, but due to the way it was written, it was kind of implied that the game was originally going to be exclusive to the Sega CD, but
Wow.
I don't know if that's actually true.
Look, I'm a Sega fanboy. That would have been a mistake, right? Okay. I don't know. Maybe if fanboy is still the term we use. Like, I'm a big Sega fan. I collect for Sega consoles. I don't have a Sega CD collection at all, and I actually don't have a 32X collection anymore because I sold it for like a massive Master System collection when I was in high school.
Nice.
Totally worth it in my opinion. But like I'm also like, I can recognize when there are shortcomings on Sega hardware and things, right? Like it's just the facts, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see how this game in this finished product would have worked, even if it were pared down to run on either the CD or the 32X or even the 32X CD, which was also a thing where certain CD-ROM games used the 32X additional processors to make them slightly better. I don't fucking know, dude. Sega was on some shit. But if you think about it, you've got the Genesis, you've got the 32X, and you've got the CD, and that's its own little trilogy, isn't it? All right.
Yeah, it is. You're correct.
Okay.
But like, see, the thing of it is you're picturing it like, oh, this game, like the game we have, would have been pared down to be on the CD. I think it's the other way around. There was originally going to be a certain amount of game that was planned on being the CD. Then when it got delayed, it got expanded out to have more game than it originally was. That's my guess.
Right. I'm just thinking in terms of like the smoothness of the gameplay and everything, because this game plays extremely smooth. And I've played the fucking Saturn version of Doom and it fucking crawls. Like it is a bad port of that game. The 32X version plays better. I'm pretty sure the Super Nintendo version with the additional chip in the cartridge also plays better. That Saturn version of Doom is not good, and that's a game that people run on calculators now, you know? Like, yeah,
speaking of both how the game runs and Doom, that's actually two other little things I wanted to mention. Listeners, if you're out there and you're not like driving or doing brain surgery or something, I want you to close your eyes briefly and imagine, like, go on an imagination trip with me.
Sure. Again, pull over to the side of the road if you're driving. Yeah. You have to close your eyes for this.
I want you listeners to picture Doom, the first game, the original Doom, and then replace all of the demons with xenomorphs. There's a period at the end of that sentence. That's what this game is.
See,
it's Doom, but with aliens instead of demons.
Some of the hardcore fans, Doom heads out there, are just imagining the old Doom wads that turned Doom into alien-themed games with xenomorphs. And
I read somewhere that there were some total conversion mods of Doom that like made it an alien game, and they used assets from this game to do it.
Yeah, I believe it. I also played. There were the same sort of mods you could apply to Duke Nukem 3D that would turn like the pig cops into xenomorphs and stuff, and those were definitely lifted from this game as well. Like, I think all the pig cops turned into the runners from this game, for instance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Also, before we get too far away from the topic, how I mentioned I had a thing to talk about how, like, you know, processor and the game running on the Saturn and stuff.
Yes.
I came across another thing that said this, that to quote, well, probably misquote, I'm probably not getting it exactly correct. But a website I came across said that this game is famous for only using one of the Saturn's 2 CPUs while totally ignoring the other one. Now, that's an interesting factoid, but I would like to say, I don't know if it's necessarily famous for that, because that's not like the thing that the game is known for doing.
Maybe just among Saturn nerds it is. And I don't go super deep on the technical, but I knew that about the Saturn. It's got multiple processors. It's got one for handling 2D and one for handling 3D, and a lot of the more powerful games. And I'm really dumbing this down. So if like you're insulted by the way I'm talking about this, go outside, nerd.
That's right.
So like once, like later in the Saturn's life cycle, and of course when Sega was programming their own games for it, they were able to utilize the chipsets a lot better than early games in particular, and better than a lot of games could. Like, I think there's a reason Saturn, it took so long for people to like really nail Saturn emulation, because it was just hard technology to emulate, kind of like the PlayStation 3 is, right? Because its architecture is so specific and unique.
I got you.
I think the impressive thing is that Alien Trilogy on the Saturn runs and performs extremely well. It is on par with the PlayStation version. Like, it is smooth, and there's no like weird content cut or anything like that. Like, it is a great port of the game. So it's impressive that they were able to do that, maybe only utilizing one of the chipsets. Maybe that's the specific, you know?
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Because it is a good port. It's my preferred way to play the game, of course, because I like a Sega controller. I notoriously hate the PlayStation controller and the DualShock and the 3 and whatever.
That is correct. You are notorious for that, yes.
I am, yeah. I'm maybe the only person. The Saturn version is good. If you can get a hold of it and play it, you should, because I haven't played every first-person shooter on the Saturn. Like, I haven't played Duke Nukem, which I think is another one that's up there. But of the ones I have played, this one is the best one.
All right.
The MS-DOS version I have never played, but what's interesting about the MS-DOS version is that it has a multiplayer deathmatch mode.
Oh, nice.
Which the console versions don't have. Neither console version has that. So it's got network multiplayer. I'd love to think that there's still some people out there playing Alien Trilogy deathmatch, like on DOSBox or something, through some extremely complicated method. I just want that to be out there. And hey, if you are doing that, invite me. I've got a copy.
Yeah. Send us an email, mother@crewexpendable.net, and tell us how and why, frankly, you're still doing it after all this time.
And also, can I play too?
That's right. Can he play? I will not be getting in on that, but Neal absolutely would.
I absolutely would. I would spend a weekend setting everything up to be able to do that for like an hour and a half.
That is correct. You would do that, yes.
I'll live stream it and then report my experience back on the podcast. Also, if anyone's running Aliens Online, that first person shooter, like, hook me up. We gotta figure out how to do an episode on that at some point. And that is a dead game. That is a dead online only from the dial-up era's game.
It sure is.
Let's get a little more specific. Is there anything else I wanted to run down about Alien Trilogy? I guess I had one little bit of trivia. Again, you earlier said everyone pictured Doom, but there's Xenomorphs instead.
Yeah.
I know a bit of trivia about the game Doom that I learned from the book I love to name drop, Masters of Doom by David Kushner. after the success of Wolfenstein 3D, when id Software, when John Carmack was further developing his game engine, and it was time for them to do a successor to Wolfenstein 3D, one of the things that they discussed was trying to acquire the license to Aliens and making an Aliens-based first-person shooter.
Nice.
Certainly would have predated Alien Trilogy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But they abandoned that idea to create an original property, so they didn't have to pay licensing fees and they could make more money and everything, right? And so they opted for Doom, but Doom was still very much inspired by Aliens. Obviously, the idea of a space marine fighting hordes of essentially aliens on a moon, because I believe it takes place on Phobos, not on Mars proper. I could be wrong about that.
I don't know for sure, but I'll believe you.
But id Software was very much inspired by Aliens to create Dune. And so now to create Dune, to create Doom. Now I'm wondering if I said Dune every single time.
Well, here, I'll say this then. Listeners, if he did say Dune all the previous times, mentally replace it and pretend he was saying Doom. There you go.
There we go. I don't know. I mean, Mars kind of looks like Arrakis. Is that the planet?
I don't know. I've never read or seen the various Dunes. I have no idea.
They both seem dusty.
Yeah, they sure do.
And so now we've gone full circle to an officially licensed Alien first-person shooter that plays just like fucking Doom does, right? Like it really does.
Sure does. Sure does.
By which I mean there is something about these level designs, the same limitation that Doom has, where you can't put levels on top of other levels. Everything has to be kind of linear and accessible through ramps and staircases and things.
Yeah. And
your movement is forward, back, turning left and right and strafing left and right, and not aiming at all except for left and right. Mm-hmm. So there's no enemies above you, or when there are, you just continue to shoot straight forward and hit them. But I don't think that there are ever any enemies above you in this game, unless it's like a guy on a staircase. Maybe.
Well, there are some instances of like xenomorphs clinging onto ceilings, but they drop down onto your like plane of the level when you approach them.
So that you can shoot. You're just shooting straight ahead the whole time. You're not aiming up and down.
Yeah.
And whatever direction you're facing, that's the direction you're shooting. There's no additional aiming or, and you guys understand, right? People understand what I'm saying. Even with that limitation, the game is still a lot of fucking fun to play, just like Doom still is. But let's talk about the premise of this game.
Such as it is.
Kenny, why is this game called Alien Trilogy?
Well, the game is called Alien Trilogy in the same way for all my horror anthology TV heads out there in the chat. The game is called Alien Trilogy for the same reason that season 1 of Channel Zero is called Candle Cove. In other words,
you please explain further. I don't understand this.
Imagine, if you will, that you had a story, all right? Okay. And then you wanted to adapt it to another medium. But rather than making a straight adaptation, what you did was you read the gist of the storyline, immediately fell asleep, had a dream about that storyline, and then made the adaptation the dream that you had about the original. All right.
Okay. All right.
Alien Trilogy is called Alien Trilogy because in the most broad strokes that it is possible to have, it is a very, very loose adaptation of the storylines of the first 3 movies.
Sure. Yeah. It is inspired by the storyline of the first 3 movies, although not linearly, right?
Yeah. You actually cover the events of 2 first, and then 3, and then the final part of the game covers 1.
Sure. Extremely loosely, particularly in terms of covering the events of 3 and 1.
I mean, to the point where I've actually seen some people describe it as it's a loose adaptation of 2.
Yeah.
Involving items and locations from the first and the third movies.
Yeah, that's a lot more accurate. I think that's a pretty fair way to describe this game. Should I read the story paragraphs from the Alien Trilogy video game manual?
Yes, you should.
The Sega Saturn version, published by Acclaim Entertainment and Fox Interactive. Rated M for mature. All right. In the not too distant future, successful space colonization has become routine. The quaint concept of nations is a remote memory. The one organization to which all humans belong is the company, with a capital C. Mm-hmm. All material needs are created and met by the company. All human activity is subordinated to it. Even the armed forces are privatized, sworn to uphold the interests of the company. By and large, humanity has survived intact throughout this era of interplanetary conquest. But now a host of parasitic alien seeds threaten the very existence of the human race. The company wants to keep the deadly spawn alive for use as a secret weapon. Can the vicious aliens be destroyed? Or will the Queen of Queens succeed in laying another savage generation in the guts of hapless planetary populations? The task of saving humanity comes down to ... you. You're Lieutenant Ripley, a staff alien stomper. You're a million miles from home. Your fellow Marines have just been wiped out in an alien ambush. Now the whole planet colony on LV-426 is threatened by the egg-laying aliens and the Queen of Queens. You could use all the help the company can muster. Too bad they're working against you. As Ripley, you'll soon be cursing the day you ever heard of the company. It's fun. But for now, you've got to concentrate. Watch every movement. Listen for every sound. If you can hear above your pounding heart. Steady, Lieutenant Ripley. Just take it one... Okay, I don't know how to read this, Kenny. It says, steady, Lieutenant Ripley. Just take it one. Then it shows what I think is like a diagram of a heart monitor, you know, like a EKG or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it just says, you're on your own.
Yeah, I don't know.
This one heartbeat at a time. Is that what they're implying?
Probably one beat at a time, maybe. Also,
let's check the MS-DOS manual while you go ahead.
To all you eagle-eyed listeners out there, you may have noticed that she was referred to as Lieutenant Ripley. That is because in this game, she is a member of the Colonial Marines. Not like a civilian consultant like she was in the second one. She is a member of the Colonial Marines.
The DOS manual is the same. I'm going to check the PlayStation 1 too. But doesn't she have a non-military rank? Isn't she? I mean, she's Warrant Officer Ripley, but was she a lieutenant prior to that?
They may have given her like a rank like when she joined in with the group of Marines in the second one. They may have just like given her a rank while she was there.
They didn't give her a rank when she was with the Marines. I'm just saying like prior to that. Let's check the PlayStation manual too on this ASMR
But
podcast.
Yeah, basically the actual gist of the opening of the game,
exactly the same.
There's an opening and a closing like CG movie that the game plays, and there's also one that plays when it transitions from one movie to the next.
Yes.
And in the opening CG, it's basically like Ripley and the other Marines fly in, and then literally all of them except for Ripley and Bishop get killed.
Yeah.
And so it's up to Ripley just by herself to do all of this stuff.
Yes. We'll talk about the CGI scenes a little bit later, but basically the way the game plays out is Ripley is just getting orders from Bishop, I guess, right?
Presumably, yeah.
And like it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because we do see all the Marines get wiped out in the opening movie, the opening cinematic, but then like your missions are to like clear barricades and stuff out of the way so the Marines can enter.
I guess it's a second wave of Marines that they sent after they found out all of them in the first wave, other than Ripley, got killed. Yeah. I guess. I don't know.
But you never see them. In any case, it doesn't matter. You never see them. There's someone just didn't revise that.
Each level is its own like separate self-contained level. And before you start it, you're given like one brief screen, like you said, probably from Bishop, telling you like what the mission for that level is. And some of them might be turn on all of the lights or clear out all the crates in the hallways or, you know, things like that. And you have to like go in and do all of this stuff while fighting all of the xenomorphs every level.
Yes.
But like, at the time, like looking through reviews at the time, a lot of people notated that it's like, wow, this game has such a deeper and more in-depth story than a game like Quake or Doom does, because like as the levels go on, you're given like mission updates and like NPCs talk to you and like the story progresses. And like, from our perspective now, I was like, this game doesn't have a plot.
It barely has a plot. Yeah. But, you know, again, like there was no storytelling in Doom, right? There's no storytelling in Quake. There is storytelling in Duke Nukem 3D. So it's not like void of all of the different FPSs of the time here. But this one did. They were like, no, we're going to make this kind of as cinematic as we're capable of right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no plot, right? So there's 30 missions, give or take, right? 30 levels.
There's technically 33, but there's 30 level.
Yes. And then there's the 3 bosses. Is that the extra 3 you're talking about here?
It is, yes.
Yeah. And each boss is a queen. But apparently one of them is the Queen of Queens, and that must be the one we fight at the end of the game, right?
Presumably.
So would that be a queen mother? Or
well, I don't think
an empress.
It could be an empress. I was going to say I don't know if those terms existed at that point, but this game came out in 96. And so I think the comics that introduced Queen Mother and Empress, I think they were out by that point, but the game just calls them queens.
Okay. Well, this Queen of Queens thing is interesting. Let us know, Aaron Percival of AVP Galaxy, if you hear this. Right, you're the expert.
That's right.
And we appreciate the input. I'll probably tweet him after this. So anyway, I do it now, but I gotta open another tab, and come on,
it's fine. It can wait.
It can wait. Yeah. So basically, we're dealing with 10 level chunks, right? And the first 10 levels all take place inside the we'll call it Hadley's Hope, even though the game never calls it that, right?
Yeah, I think the game just calls it LV426 the whole time.
It's also interesting how the manual very much just calls them the company, because like that's something maybe we never touched on. The words Weyland-Yutani are never spoken in Aliens in particular, or in Alien, I believe.
Yeah.
We learned that that's the company name because like their name is on doors and shit like that, but it's never actually spoken. And I don't know, there's something creepy about that. Like it's just the company, right? Like you know which one. Right, the one that owns everything and all of us, just like the manual to Alien Trilogy says.
Yeah, like the company, the one. You know?
But yeah, so the first 10 levels are just in Hadley's Hope, and you know it's again, we're gonna talk about Doom a lot in this probably. Instead of like key cards though, the level layouts aren't as like get from point A to point B as much. I mean, they kind of are, but they give you like objectives too, right? Like you don't have really key cards to pick up so much in this game to power up doors that you can't access. You have to find batteries instead, and then find the battery terminal, and then that powers up doors in other locations. So there's some interesting puzzle-like level design in the games.
Yeah, the levels have a bit more of a maze-like design than you would have otherwise expected,
Yes. So the first 10 levels are that, and like at one point you have to get into the med bay or the medical research lab or something like that, and kill all of the specimens and collect ID cards to kind of, I don't know, prove that you killed all the specimens, or however the game puts it. It's really weird. So then it grades you on completion depending on how many of the objectives you've completed, similar to like GoldenEye, right? I think GoldenEye on the 64 does that.
Yeah, at the end of every level, when you beat it, you're graded on 3 levels. I believe the levels are how many of the enemies you killed, how many of the secrets you found, and how many of the mission objectives you completed. And you have to have completed at least a certain amount of the mission objectives to continue on to the next level. Otherwise, you just have to redo the level you finished.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters if you don't complete the other 2.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a grace period there. You just, I think, have to get up a certain number of objective percentage to move on.
Yeah.
Because didn't I rush through a whole level during the playthrough with 0 objectives and it just started me over? That was after we were fucking around with cheat codes, I think.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we're doing this again. All right. So the first part of the game just takes place in Hadley's Hope, and that culminates in surprise, surprise, a big boss battle with a queen. And after you defeat her, there's another cool CGI cutscene of Bishop picking you up in the APC and Ripley having to gun down a xenomorph that's trying to climb on board also. And in that conversation, you learn that the atmosphere reactor is starting to melt down, right? Mm-hmm. So there's our aliens plot line right there. We got to escape the planet, and that's going to overarch. That's going to bookend the movie, right? The plot or bookend the game. The aliens plot bookends everything. But first, Ripley tells Bishop that she has to go to the LV-426 detention block, which is the Fury 161 prison.
Sure is.
Which is on LV-426 now, people. Don't get confused here. Because that's where she has seen all of the colonist PDT signals. So as opposed to being in the atmosphere reactor, they're in the prison block.
I got you. All right.
So the prison fully fucking staffed, by the way, still, right?
Nice.
Wayland guards walking around with guns trying to kill you. I don't know why. Also xenomorphs running around. This is where we start to see, I think, we've already seen chest bursters and face huggers and regular xenomorphs, because there's no distinction here between warrior and drone and stuff. But
this is where we start seeing runners, though.
This is where we start seeing runners, and later on we start seeing a different strain. This is where it gets very confusing, because we know runners, right? We know runners from Alien 3. Either popped out of an ox or a dog, depending on the version you've watched, right? We know runners from Fireteam Elite. We know runners from Dark Descent. We know them from basically any alien game out there. They're the quadrupedal little dudes who run around. Fine.
Yeah, the alien from Alien 3. That's a runner.
Yes. But later, in a later mission in this detention block area, they introduce another strain of xenomorph that has been combined with the DNA of a dog, and they call it a dog alien. And it just runs around on 2 legs, and it's tall, and it's kind of orangey colored, I think, and it's harder to kill. So they're this game is drawing a very clear distinction between runners and dog aliens, which is weird. Because we used to refer to the Alien 3 xenomorph as the dog alien.
Yeah.
I don't know if they even made an action figure out of that and part of the Kenner line or whoever it was. But my brother and his friends definitely called it the dog alien, and so did I. It would have made more sense for that tall kind of bruiser of an alien to be, if that were an ox alien, right? Because at least then you think large, strong animal.
Unfortunately, I don't think that version of Alien 3 existed yet at that point. So.
Yeah, but there was the novelization out, and I'm not sure. Didn't we read that the novelization was a little bit closer to the assembly cut?
That's true. I think it was. Good point.
So that information might have been in there, and then they changed it for the game or something. They were going to go that way, and then they're like, no, we need consistency.
Yeah.
And we're just going to leave the runners unexplained and make the thing from the movie completely different. I don't know, man.
Sure. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's a weird area because you're just gunning down humans. A lot of humans in that, right?
There's a lot of Weyland-Yutani guards, and the ape suit troopers, I think, are also in that section of the game. Although they're not called ape troopers, they're called capturers or cleaners or something like that. They have some other name that's not ape trooper. I just don't remember what it is.
Maybe let's check the manual, see if it's in here. I do miss the days of video game manuals.
Yeah, they were nice, weren't they?
They were. Yeah, they're called alien handlers. So
handlers, that's what it was. Yeah.
And let's just talk about the different enemy types here, because there's not a whole lot to say about this segment of the game, except that there is a very cool scene, which you can see on the live stream, where you do get to see the EEV, the crashed EEV that Ripley would have landed on Fury 161. And even though it makes absolutely no sense in the plot of this game, who cares? right?
That's right.
Like this must have been fucking mind blowing. We'll get to the big one later, right? Just to be like this is one of the first like 3D Alien games, and to be able to see like locations specific from the movies, even if it's the generic sort of like industrial pipe fitted walls of the colony or whatever, or like we saw the chamber with all of the doors where they were trying to herd the runner through in Alien 3, like that's represented in the game. But just to see like the EEV sitting there in 3D, pretty cool. It's always fun to see that stuff, especially seeing early versions of this stuff and, CGI cutscenes of the dropship and the APC and everything, right? Like that's why we're here.
Yeah, for sure.
Plot be damned. And then, little did we know we'd be seeing those same exact things, reinterpreted in video games for decades after that, right? Yeah. Like we're still seeing it. Yeah, we'll talk more about it later. But let's talk about the different enemies we are facing. We've got chestbursters, face huggers, warriors, and queens. And here's the distinction. All right, so maybe this is my mistake. It's all staying in. They don't call the runners. They do call them young dog aliens. And then they call the big one that is no longer a runner an adult dog alien.
Got it. Okay.
So it's still weird to me because I remember very distinctly the first time you encounter that enemy, they identify it in the mission briefing as a new strain of xenomorph with dog DNA. And then the dude shows up. And that's why I was like, this is what they're calling the dog alien? Anyway.
So then that leads me to believe that this game interpreted the runner as the four-legged equivalent of a chest burster, and then what they call an adult dog alien is basically like a drone or a warrior, but from a dog instead.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that they're just identifying runners as, prepubescent or pubescent or adolescent xenomorphs.
Which, to be honest, does make sense and stick in with the events of Alien 3, because when the runner is born, it's immediately mobile and already has all four legs and can run around.
It's kind of like
I suppose that does kind of make sense.
Kind of like how when goats are born, they just know what to do.
Yeah, or like deer. Yeah, they can immediately walk, and they're already the full animal, just smaller.
Right.
Unlike a chest burster, which is like a worm and then grows limbs later.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
We're not going to solve this now. As for company enemies that you fight, as a reminder, the company hopes to bring the aliens back alive to use as a secret weapon. To aid this scheme, they have unleashed a variety of human menaces to hinder you. Be careful, Lieutenant. We've got the company soldiers, right? These guys are just dudes carrying M41A assault rifles. We've got the company synthetics, which are armed with smart guns.
All right.
We've got the alien handler, which is the ape suit trooper, first seen in Alien 3 as far as we know, carrying some kind of gun. And then we have the basic ass security guards from this prison block, these early prison missions, and they are armed with pistols, and that's it. Always fun to see an ape trooper. You know me. Gotten really into ape troopers since we started doing this podcast.
Yeah, you really like those guys a lot.
I do. If I ever do a cosplay, I'm doing ape trooper.
I actually had one little trivia anecdote about the enemies, and it's actually involving the Alien 3 section of the game.
Sure.
I saw somebody post online that there is one level in the game, level 15, titled Lead Mold, that is filled with a bunch of runners, and all of those runners are insanely tough and powerful, and somebody actually mentioned that they are the toughest non-queen enemy in the entire game. And for reasons that nobody that posted about it ever posited, they're just in that one level. All of the other runners you fight for the rest of the game are weaker than a normal xenomorph.
Oh, that's weird.
For some reason, nobody can figure out in this one level, all of them have like a shitload of HP and take like 20 shotgun shells to kill.
Jesus.
And nobody can figure out why.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It is hard to hit these because they do move quick.
Yeah.
And you do waste a lot of fucking ammo, and ammo is pretty scarce in this game, right? This is much like like playing Doom on anything above like the Can I Play 2 Dad difficulty settle or whatever they call it in that, right?
Yeah.
And like you start the fucking game off with a pistol, and like your first mission is like you got to blow up all these barrels. By the way, your pistol ain't gonna do shit, so you better get a real weapon, right?
Yeah, you physically can't. Okay. Yeah, I think the barrels you can blow up with a pistol, but the crates, you physically cannot destroy them with a pistol. You have to find the shotgun to be able to move the crates.
Because there's two kinds of crates. Like there's some that you can shoot and ammo will come out of them, and then some that are like a slightly different shade of green that you can't blow up.
Yeah.
Unless they blow up alongside a barrel or something, maybe. But yeah, Ripley just starts out with her sidearm, right? And then you do get a shotgun pretty quickly. And then it's just sidearm and shotgun for like 3 or 4 levels, maybe longer, 4 or 5, until you can get like the pulse rifle at the M41A. And then you do eventually get a flamethrower and a smart rifle. Or you can do what I did and just punch the fucking cheat code in and get all of those right away.
Yep, that is correct. That is exactly what you did.
The M41A does have a grenade launcher on it, which is very cool, but you can also pick up seismic charges, which will blow shit up.
They're basically more powerful grenades.
Yeah. And you need every fucking bit of ammo that you find, and you better not fucking miss because, Jesus, if you had to take a warrior down with a pistol, it takes forever.
Yeah, and I was actually reading something about how like it's actually even easier than you would normally expect it to be to like waste ammo in this game.
Yes.
Because the way the game is programmed is that when you shoot an enemy, they do like a very brief like pose of them getting shot. But when they're doing that animation, they're they're invincible.
They got invincibility frames.
Yeah, so if you just keep on firing at them, you're going to be wasting bullets when you hit them during the invincibility frames. And that apparently has caused a lot of people to be like, when they were playing it.
The best weapon in the game, the most reliable one, if you're not on cheat mode, is definitely the shotgun. Like,
oh, for sure.
It has to be. Because of that alone, but it's got a wide spread and everything too. Slower rate of fire, so you're not going to shoot on those invincibility frames, right? Yeah, shotgun. Much like every other, much like Duke Nukem 3D and Doom and Quake. The shotgun or shotgun equivalent is the weapon that you want to use.
That's right.
Really disappointed in the pulse rifle in that. Like you'd think that would be the one that they made fun. You know,
yeah, it's kind of I would describe that or possibly the smart gun as like the iconic Aliens weapon or Alien franchise weapon.
Yes,
would be the pulse rifle, and that one kind of fucking sucked. You're right.
Yeah, so make sure you keep that shotgun on you for close encounters, right? Like the movie. He says it in the movie, dude. Yeah, so the prison block is the prison block, and I don't think you find any survivors. I do think there's a mission where you have to collect some PDT chips. Wild that we're collecting PDT chips in 1996, or at least talking about them, and then in 2020 or whenever Fireteam came out, 2021, we're also looking for Doc Honecker's PDT chip in the first mission. Just saying.
Hey, they made it an iconic part of Aliens. I would not describe it as an iconic part of that movie, but further franchise adaptations have turned it into one.
Right. I mean, I think it's kind of iconic in Aliens because that's how they track Newt, right? Or no, they don't even track Newt on her PDT chip. They track her on the bracelet they gave her.
Yeah, they just find her.
Yeah, because Ripley gave her the tracking bracelet, and then that's how they track her, and how Ripley tracks her into the nest. Yeah, you're 100% right. They're like, oh, here we found the PDTs. They're in the atmosphere processor.
Yeah.
Cold Iron Studios is writing that shit down for later. After you exit the prison complex
by killing a queen
again killing a queen, right? Not the queen of queens, just the queen, just
a queen. Yeah,
Ripley gets out. This is a cutscene again where she's like, damn it, Bishop, where are you? And she climbs into a crawler, right? This is a CGI scene that maybe you didn't see. I don't think we played it in the live stream, but she finds a crawler. It looks like the one that we see Newt's family in Newt's Tale, or I guess Aliens Special Edition, if you want to go that route. And she drives that fucking crawler to the derelict spaceship, or as they call it in this game, the Bone Ship.
Which, admittedly, cooler name.
We will no longer be saying Juggernaut on this podcast.
It's the Bone Ship.
We will be saying Bone Ship from now on. Yes.
Way cooler name.
We'll probably have to sometimes say, of course, we mean a juggernaut, so we don't get letters from new listeners, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, she just drives that crawler like right up the mountain to the Bone Ship and just like fucking walks right in. Because now she's on a mission. I guess she knows there's another queen, a queen of queens, I suppose, at the original location where the outbreak happened. So now we've gone through Aliens for the most part. We've gone through an Alien 3 segment. And now we are in a segment inspired by one particular scene that Ripley was not present for in the original Alien.
It's fine.
It's totally fine.
She wasn't really like involved in these events in the franchise, how you said, inspired by a scene she wasn't present for.
Right.
But like it's inspired by like the style and the vibe of the first movie. So it's fine.
Yes. Yeah. And so we got Ripley just checking out the derelict spaceship. And I'll be honest, the level design in this section really fucking left something to be desired for me.
I mean, to be honest, man, I'm going to be real. I don't really think the level design in this game is really that great.
Sure. What's weird is like we've seen, obviously, Prometheus just chock-a-block full of engineer tech. Right. We've seen how they present the inside of a bone ship. Fireteam Elite stacked to the gills with this kind of stuff. Also, like there's an entire like campaign in there set inside engineer facilities leading to a juggernaut. Right.
Oh, yeah.
This doesn't really fall too well in line with what they later defined as it's like this picked up the wrong inspirations from Alien a little bit. And the franchise picked up all the other ones, Yeah, there's clearly like a common ancestor.
Yeah. But like you said, it's like they took the stuff from Alien and wanted to do an iteration on that as to not do the exact same thing. And so they took the basic idea and spun it off in one direction. But then all the canon franchise stuff, like for instance, Prometheus, spun it off in a different direction. So it's clearly like related, but it also just as clearly like looks off,
Yeah. I don't know. It was interesting to see, right? It's interesting to see the alternate version in this case,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because these are game developers literally expanding on an idea that was not super explored in any of the movies up to this point, right? So they did the best they could. What's interesting is we've got other things that look like xenomorph eggs, but aren't exactly the same. They're a little bit different, They have more ridges on the outside, and they kind of sit up on this like pedestal, or like they have a base to them, rather, right? Kind of butt plug shaped, if you'll allow me. Internet.
They are. Yes, that's correct.
Everyone just sit on that for a minute. Pun not intended.
Oh, I see what you did. I wouldn't have even gotten that had you not said anything. Great work.
All right. Look, in our playthrough, we just kind of skipped around in this entire section because we were looking for one very specific thing. And by we, I mean me. I was obsessed with finding one very specific thing.
And for the listeners, the reason why it was him specifically, just to remind you of what we said earlier, he was the one actually playing it, and I was just kind of there as like moral support on the radio. So that's the reason why it was him specifically, because since he was the one playing it, he was the one that got to decide what we all did. So
you provided color commentary as well.
Yeah.
We were looking for the motherfucking pilot, right? We
sure were.
You can't make an Alien game without putting a fucking bone ship pilot in there, right? and every time we do one of these, we're gonna look for the gosh darn bone ship pilot, because I know for a fact that there are bone ship pilots in the Alien versus Predator PC games. Surely there's got to be one in AVP 2010. We all know that there's at least a pilot's chair in Fireteam, right? You got to have it. It's iconic, right? There's a reason everyone was so obsessed with the space jockey to the point where they decided to make a whole movie about it, And we found it. We found the bone ship pilot. There he was, up on his chair, gaping hole in his chest, etc. Fossilized to the chair, elephant-looking face. The classic bone ship pilot.
He's not as big as he was in the movie, but presumably that was just like, technical limitations or whatever.
Right. Wouldn't be the first time there were some scale problems with the engineers, you know.
That is correct, yes.
But hey,
it's fine.
It happens.
It's fine.
Yeah. And that was just another moment where it was like, hey, let's get the iconic thing. Like, that's the novelty of this game. Taking those iconic sets and things and just rendering them in 3D in a way that we can run around and look at them in a little bit more detail than we ever got in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that's really fun about this game. We kind of brushed over this earlier. Well, we mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the lead factory in the prison section. But back in the colony section, like, you can find rooms that just look like the sleep pod room from the Nostromo, right?
Yep.
Like it doesn't make any sense, you know. You can actually go in there and you can open all of the doors to the sleep pods. Nobody's in them, but like the technology is there. The big center stem with like the 5 or 6 pods around it, like pedals, you know.
And if any of the listeners want to see that in action, Neal found that room and went in there and opened all of the pods on our live stream of the game a couple of weeks ago.
Some of them had chest bursters in them. I knew one of them had an ID card in it, and then I just wanted to see what was in the other ones.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, again, I think a lot of the novelty of this game is recreating environments. Christ, half of the appeal of Alien Isolation was walking around that ship at the beginning. That's almost like a 1-to-1 of the Nostromo. Like, clearly all those fucking alien nerds want to do that, and they keep finding ways to make that happen in video games. And I'm all for it. And I don't care if they keep doing it in every single one. I'm going to enjoy it every single time, right?
Yep.
Just give us more and more detailed versions of those things, and I'm here for it. Anyway, you eventually find the Queen of Queens, blow her away with cheat codes, using the flamethrower and the smart gun mostly, I think.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then Ripley escapes from the bone ship and gets picked up at the last minute in the drop ship by Bishop, kind of rounding up the plot of Aliens at that point, because they take off into space as the planet explodes thanks to the atmosphere processor.
Yeah, to reiterate, the planet explodes.
Planet explodes.
As
Gone.
in LV-426 does not exist anymore. It was turned into moon dust.
Like it got hit with the Death Star laser, you know?
Yeah, it literally just kaboom, does not exist anymore. It's gone.
And then we get like a nice closing scene, which I think is explained poorly on Wikipedia, on the AVP fandom, where this is how the AVP fandom wiki explains this ending. The game ends with Ripley and Bishop escaping from the planet in a dropship. However, as they leave, a shuttlecraft similar to the Narcissus is seen entering orbit. After Ripley enters hypersleep for the trip home, it is revealed that the crew of the shuttle, presumably another team sent by Weyland-Yutani, have been attacked by facehuggers, and a xenomorph emerges from the shadows of the craft. Now, that's not how I saw this ending, and I've got it queued up, and I'm willing to watch it again. But I want to know what your interpretation of that ending was, Kenny. Because the way I read it was they took off in the dropship and somehow got on board a shuttle like the Narcissus. And the implication there was that a xenomorph had also gotten on board with them.
What it sounded like to me was that they flew off on the dropship, and then afterwards, a group of presumably Weyland-Yutani soldiers got onto the dropship they were on and had a xenomorph with them. Or maybe there was already a facehugger on board or whatever. And all those guys that got onto their dropship got killed by aliens.
Yeah, my reading of it was Ripley's ship.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. It sounds to me like, based on the description you gave me, it sounds to me like the other group, like the other like shuttle that came in that wasn't Ripley's, they got onto Ripley's ship, and that's where all that stuff at the end happened.
I'm gonna hit play, watch this real quick. Do you want to watch it too?
I mean, do I have a way to watch it?
I'm gonna share this specific time code with you in Discord. It's a YouTube video.
Pleasant dreams, Ripley.
Okay, so we just watched the ending again. Do you want to give your interpretation of it first, or?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
So my interpretation is that the Narcissus in this case is acting as the Sulaco for this mission. I think they just wanted to put something in, again, to reference the original game. I don't think it's a separate shuttle or anything. I think that we see the Narcissus fly off screen if you're watching like in the top left, and we see the dropship take a loop and also exit off in the top left. Okay. So my instinct is that they're implying that the dropship docks with this shuttle. And I understand scale's a problem. It was 1996. All right. Yeah. And as we've discussed, they're just shoehorning in alien stuff into this game any way they can, right? References everywhere, even if they don't make sense. So my reading of this is that was their orbiting ship that they were trying to get back to. And the dropship docked with it, but somehow Facehugger were on board of the dropship and maybe a full-ass Xeno. So after Ripley gets put into cryo by Bishop, the story isn't over because there's still aliens on the ship, man. Not a separate crew, not a separate ship, none of that stuff.
So yeah, it sounds to me like what the Xenopedia article construed as a separate ship with other people on it, you understood to be the main ship that the dropship Ripley was on flies back to.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
That's my reading of it. I'm challenging the AVP fandom wiki on that explanation of the ending, but folks, check it out for yourselves.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. mother@crewexpendable.net.
That's right. I gotta say though, very briefly as an aside, while we're talking about the cutscenes and stuff, this game was made in 1996.
Yeah.
I was, watching them in the year of our Lord 2023, and I gotta say, they still hold up. The cutscenes look pretty good.
The cutscenes are extremely well done. That intro cutscene in particular, where you even see like the Marines like using the hacking tool to get into the facility and everything. Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, the cutscenes still hold up. What, 26 years later or whatever?
Something.
Like they still look good. I'm going on record right now. Still looks good.
They're not long. I think that helps. None of the scenes are particularly long.
They aren't. Like we, listeners, we time cut when the two of us watched the closing cut scene of the game, and it's like maybe like 40 seconds long.
Yeah, but
if that.
But they look really good,
Yeah.
And this was a time where you weren't getting a whole lot of pre-rendered stuff like that. Like you were lucky if you got a pre-rendered intro in a video game. But like for reasons that will be revealed at some near point in the future, big games like Twisted Metal had just like text endings and scrapped live action endings and things like that. Like there was still a lot of FMV going on in this era, but to do like a full CG rendered, like it was still a novelty at this point. And these look good. They look great for the time. It was one of the things that the game was praised for, particularly the intro got a lot of buzz.
Yeah, like me saying this, I'm specifically trying to emphasize that like they looked great for the time, but even now they still look good.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still fun to revisit.
Yeah.
It looks like alien stuff. Sounds like alien stuff. They got the gunfire right for the cinematics, even if they didn't in the game specifically.
Apparently, a lot of the sound effects used in this game were literally just sound clips that they lifted from the movies.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm not surprised.
Check out those cutscenes. I'm gonna, you guys want to check out that ending too? I'm gonna drop this specific link to all the cutscenes. It says remastered. That just someone just upscaled them. They're still, they still look pretty 1996.
Since we're talking about the animations, we watched the ending animation, and then immediately after that, some other animations started that I wanted to briefly mention.
Sure. The death scenes, right?
Yeah, the game has like multiple, I think 6 different death animations that happen when you die, and I don't know why, but that just strikes me as very cool to do. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really remember games from this period having that kind of like, not multiple choice ending, but like, mostly it's like when you die in the game, they just play the animation of you being dead, but this game has like different ones for different things that kill you, which I thought was a really neat idea.
Yeah, it makes sense because if you're playing an Aliens game, you know, so much of those movies is seeing how people die. Certainly the first movie, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6. So if it's a young or adult runner, the dog alien, Ripley falls on the floor as the runner head bites her. Mm-hmm. Okay. And all of these happen. You watch all of these. You're not in first person anymore. You see Ripley and you see the thing that's killing her, right? And it's against this like wavy red and black background, you know?
Yep. Sure is.
If it's a warrior, Ripley faints as she is approached by one. It then head bites her.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a face hugger, Ripley tries pulling the face hugger off her face, but fails and passes out. If it's a queen, the tail rams through her chest and the alien queen rips her up, head biting her off screen. A lot of head biting in these.
Which I'm not sure how they know that's what it does. But then the last 2 are whenever it's like a humanoid enemy with a gun, it just shoots you in the stomach and you double over. And then for like any other time that's not like one of the pre-listed ones, you just generically collapse and die from your wounds that you have.
Right.
So they have like one catch-all for everything else. But yeah.
Yeah, if you like, I don't even know what those are. I guess if you blew up a barrel and it kills you or something, right?
I believe there's also like, what's the word I'm looking for?
I think you can fall to your death in some of those later levels.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of. There's bottomless pits. Bottomless was the word I was trying to think of. My brain kept trying to say infinite, and I was like, that's not quite right. But yeah, there are bottomless pits in the game.
Unless you have invincibility turned on, in which case you're just stuck down there.
I believe that's also just the generically falling over one. I believe that's also the one that plays if you die from stepping on xenomorph acid,
right?
Because that's another thing. The xenomorphs do have acidic blood that when you step on it, you do take damage from it.
Yes. Just like in Fireteam.
Also, the face huggers are they don't operate the way they do in the movies. The face huggers are basically like little tiny guys that run around and do damage to you. And if they crawl on you, they just play this insanely gross animation of a face hugger covering up the screen and then falling off. And that's all they do. They just do damage to you. It's not like an instant death attack like it is in the movies. They're easily and by a wide margin the weakest enemy in the game.
Those face hugs they do some damage though, especially early on when you don't have any armor or anything, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but boy, is that gross. They just like try to make out with you.
I mean,
and you see it. It's right there on the fucking screen.
Admittedly, it doesn't look great because like this game, the in-game graphics are generally not bad until you get really close to something and then it looks really pixelated. And since this whole thing with the facehugger crawling up the screen it's right there, so it doesn't really look great because it's just like a huge blobby pixelated mess. But like you get what they're going for, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be fair if they were like, oh, you have an egg in there. I mean, there's 78 of these fucking face huggers in every goddamn level.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And if they're like game over now, you know, they just needed some kind of a peon. Part of me honestly wishes like they had been a little bit more of a threat and there had just been less of them. Because they've also got chest bursters in this game, and there aren't very many of those.
There are not. That's correct.
But it almost would have made sense to me if there were just a couple of face huggers, and if they got you, it was a problem, you know, and just fill out the rest of those with little chest bursty guys.
Oh, yeah.
Did I say chest bursty on the live stream?
Probably.
It sounds like something I'd say.
It sure does. That's why I'm like, probably.
It got into my vocabulary somehow, and I think it was then.
It's fine.
Fun game, though, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of FPSs, but for what it is, it's a solid, like, well-made game, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, for a classic like this, it's good. And it feels like Alien, right? Even if,
it certainly does. The vibe is there.
The vibe is there. You've got the motion tracker beeping, you've got all of those classic telltale signs that you're in an Aliens game. It's got the aesthetic, it's got the creatures, and like it's less of a problem for me now, but there was a time where, we all know I have a deep rooted fear of these creatures. Playing this game would fucking get to me. It wasn't that long ago,
Sure.
First version of this game I played was a demo that I downloaded from AOL on a 56K modem.
Nice.
So the first version I played was a demo of the DOS version, and it legit creeped the shit out of me playing that demo. I'm mostly over that now as an adult, right? But it'll still get me sometimes especially if I'm low on ammo, and I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Shit. And there's like 2 of these warriors and I have just the pistol and I'm out of pistol ammo. So I'm loading 1 bullet at a time.
Yeah, because that's the thing I was going to mention.
Yeah.
For all you listeners out there, you technically can't run out of ammo because like your handgun has ammo along with the rest of your guns, but once all of your guns including your handgun run out of ammo, you have 1 bullet in your gun that you can constantly reload a 1 bullet clip into. So the gun has infinite ammo as long as all of the rest of your weapons are empty,
right.
But you can only fire 1 bullet at a time. So
I imagine Ripley. She's just out of magazines, right? But she's got just a duffel bag of loose bullets, that she's carrying the whole time.
The way I pictured it was that she has she would always swap out her mags before
Sure.
they were actually empty. And so she has like 85 magazines that all have like 1 or 2 bullets in them.
Right.
So she's just constantly putting them in and swapping them out.
Just reloading.
That's what I pictured it.
Reloading way too often like I do in Fireteam and Evil Dead.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. It's important in Evil Dead, though. You reload speeds in that are... Anyway, we'll talk about the Evil Dead game later. Guns. I play Hunter, so I don't really use a lot of... Hunter? Warrior. I play Warrior, so I don't really care about the firearms in that game. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say about this, except that I think it is a very interesting experiment in Alien games, and it in a lot of ways really, like, I don't know if obviously we've gotten just a plethora of first person shooters where you shoot xenomorphs since this game, right?
Yep. The FPS is the most common type of Alien game.
Yeah, and while this isn't the first person game, I believe Aliens, the computer game, was the first one, or Aliens on the Amiga. I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't know, so I can't really back you up on that.
Yeah, it's not the first person game, but in terms of like following the modern or the classic FPS model started by your Wolfenstein 3Ds or what have you. Yeah, this one set a tone for a lot of Alien versus Predator games and Colonial Marines, and even like if you think about its narrative elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And fuck it, Alien Isolation, even, like that's not really a shooter, as we all know, but like even just the idea of like recapturing all of these sort of classic bits and putting them in a new game so people can check out the tech they saw in the movies and the locations and environments and just the style. It kind of all started here, and I think this is still a very playable game. Like you mentioned, the CGI cutscenes are fun to watch.
Yeah.
They add to the game. I'm sure what blew my fucking mind when I saw that shit back in I didn't play this in 96. I downloaded that demo and I don't know, I probably played it sometime around year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
It was still cool to see then, and it's still cool to see now. And if you're an Alien fan and you haven't played this, you should illegally download it and put it on your Steam Deck.
That's right. That's what I did, baby.
You got anything else to add to Alien Trilogy?
I got some interesting bits of trivia that I found out that I think you might find of interest. But as a very extremely brief side note, you just reminded me of something when you mentioned Alien Isolation. You reminded me of something that I forgot to mention to you the other day, that since it ties into Alien, I'm saying it on the show rather than telling you separately.
Okay. So it's content.
It is. I watched the new Mission Impossible movie last week.
Okay, I have not seen it yet.
Well, this isn't a spoiler.
And I haven't done Barbenheimer yet either, people. I don't have the
Neither
time.
have I. I haven't done it either. But I watched the new Mission Impossible. This isn't a spoiler. We're told this right at the beginning. The opening of the movie is about like a Russian submarine that like various stuff happens to the submarine and the crew on it due to the events of the plot. The name of that submarine is the Sevastopol.
Nice. I like it. Hell yeah. Is that a Conrad reference?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to say I assumed they invented the name for Isolation because Isolation was the first time I've heard that name used. So I don't know where it came from. So when I saw that in the movie, I was like, oh yeah, just like an Isolation. Cool.
It is a port city in Crimea.
Oh, so it's just a city. Okay, got it.
But let's see if there's a Conrad reference.
But while you're looking that up, I'll if anyone out there has ever read a review on the AV Club website, you'll know that they have like the bulk of the review, and then at the bottom they just have a list of just like random stray thoughts of stuff that they noticed that didn't really fit narratively into the bulk of the review. That's kind of what this is. Just some interesting little trivia stray thoughts that I came across while looking up info on this game.
Okay, I got some info about Sevastopol whenever you're ready.
Let's do that first then.
All right. So if you remember in Isolation, the AI that ran Sevastopol Station was called Apollo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Apollo was the name of Joseph Conrad's father, Apollo Korzianowski, during the Crimean War of 1854, which culminated in the siege and fall of Russian main naval base Sevastopol. He participated in plotting of Polish uprising in the Ukrainian rear of Russian army fighting in Crimea. That is messily worded on the wiki page.
Yeah.
So Apollo is a reference to Joseph Conrad's father, who fought in the siege of Sevastopol.
Wild.
Yeah. So it is
absolutely wild.
It is. I think when in doubt, it's a Conrad reference, right?
That's probably safe to assume now. Yeah.
At least in terms of the Alien universe, but the Mission Impossible universe probably just making a reference to the port city in Crimea.
It probably is. Yeah.
And the battle there. All right. Hit us with the Alien Trilogy trivia.
All right. According to the website speedrun.com.
Okay.
The any percentage speedrun record for this game is 23 minutes and 46 seconds, which is set by a TK Mays 5 years ago who played it on a US PS2.
Hell yeah, TK Mays, get it. Come on the show.
A woman named Pat Soanes is a moderately famous location scout who worked on such movies like the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, or that Beatles movie Across the Universe, Requiem for a Dream.
Less dope. It's kind of dope.
She also worked on the shows Elementary and Gotham.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because she has precisely one acting credit ever in her entire professional career, and it is voiceover work for the game Alien Trilogy.
Nice.
She's only credited as voice, though, so I don't actually know what role she played or what she did, but her only acting credit is in this game.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it is.
I wonder if did she do Ripley's voice? Because I didn't. There are some speaking roles in this.
She probably didn't, just because she's not first bill in the cast.
Well, there's only 3 people credited. Carter Inskeep.
Yeah, and she's the third one. So
Michael Margota and Pat Soanes. And so we've got a Carter and a Michael. I'm willing to bet Pat Soanes did Ripley's voice.
Maybe. but apparently the AI for the queens are notoriously badly designed to the point where you can beat all three of them easily, hands down, by exploiting various tricks. And that trick is the queens do not know how to walk up ramps. So in 2 of the fights, they have a ramp, so you can just walk up it and fire on her until she dies, and she can't attack you because her only attack is a claw swipe.
Didn't this happen in? Was it in the? It was either you did this when you played Infestation, or in the playthrough that I watched. There was one of the queen battles. You could get up on a platform where it couldn't get you, and you could just fire down on it.
Yeah, that was me when I played Infestation. So, I stumbled across that by accident, and then after the fact found out that other people had also discovered that.
That must have been a direct reference to Alien Trilogy, that they purposely put that into Infestation.
I'm sure it is. Let's see. Are you familiar with the Game Developers Conference?
GDC, yeah.
Yes. In 1996, GDC...
The insiders call it the GDC. Go on.
That's right. In 1996, GDC awarded this game second place in the best adaptation of a linear... I don't remember the word they use. Linear... medium, maybe, I don't remember, but basically best adaptation of like a movie, game, book, or show, or movie, book, or show.
Sure.
It technically didn't get second place. It just, the choices were between 2 of them and they picked the other one, but the other one was the video game adaptation of the short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Okay.
So that was, those 2 were considered the 2 best game adaptations of a non-game medium of that year.
That's a Harlan Ellison short story. I didn't know it had a video game adaptation.
It's basically a visual novel, pretty much, where you choose the bad stuff that happens to the people. But there is a way to get like a good ending, because when they made the game, I might be wrong about this, but I think I remember reading that they brought in Harlan Ellison to like write the script for the game, and so he wrote like a good ending for the game.
Nice. Harlan Ellison famously sued and has to be acknowledged in the Terminator franchise because what his short story Soldier and Something Else were so similar to what James Cameron came up with that he took legal action against them. So and now here he is beating a game based primarily on a James Cameron movie.
That's right.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
I've got 2 more bits of trivia and then I'm done. While I was looking up info, I came across some reviews for the game, and there were 2 reviews that I wanted to point out, or 3 reviews that I wanted to point out because they made me laugh.
Okay.
One of them was called Fun, 5 stars. And then the body of the review was, thanks, game arrived in great condition.
Was this an eBay review? Were you reading?
It was not off of eBay, but it was off of a video game buy-sell website. Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Another one was titled Nice Game and gave it 5 stars. And the body of the review said, case was in great shape. Game loaded fast.
These are my favorite kinds of reviews.
And there was another review that was, this was off of a different website, and it got the equivalent of 5 stars, but I think that one used like a 4-point numerical rating or something. But the title of the review was Alien, I Like You.
Okay.
And there was no body to the review. That was their entire review. Alien, I Like You.
Damn, we should have called the podcast Alien, I Like You. That's really good.
It's very good. And the final thing I had, there's a band called Alien Trilogy.
Tight.
They're from Brooklyn, and they're a noise / synth punk band.
Okay, all right. So Alien 1 would be the synth. Aliens would be the noise, And then Alien 3 is definitely the punk of the three.
Presumably.
So it all works out. Okay.
They're like a noise/synth punk band called Alien Trilogy. They have 3 albums. Though their first one is self-titled. Their second one is called Rat Damage, and their third one is called Snake Trader.
Snake Trader. That's
as in TRADER, not like. Yeah, it's as in they trade snakes, not they're a traitor to snakes.
It's still good.
And they have a absolutely phenomenal logo on their Discogs page that I'm not going to describe the logo to you, Neal. I'm going to send you the logo, and I want you to describe it to the listeners.
I'm bringing up their Bandcamp, but it may not be on here, so send me.
It was not on there. I found it on their Discogs page, but I'm sending it to you right now in Discord. I want you to describe to the listeners what you're looking at right now.
All right, motherfuckers. We've got Alien it says Alien Trilogy at the top. Alien is in the back. It is mostly black letters, but it's got lines at the bottom, white lines vertically, like the Predator
logo. Yes.
And then in cursive over it says Trilogy. So Alien Trilogy. Now we have
a depiction of the 3 of them.
Three-person band here. Okay.
Describe to me the person on the left.
We've got a Predator absolutely wailing on a synth. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Jaws.
He's standing up in front of a keyboard playing it, mouth open as if he's singing.
Jaws open, just like just tearing it up. All right.
All right. Who do we have next?
In the center, we've got a Xenomorph just pounding on the skins, right?
He's sitting behind a drum set, knocking it out, drool slavering all over the place as he's pounding on these drums.
Tail going wild behind him. Yeah.
And then the best one, describe to the listeners the person on the right, please.
Listen, you're the musician first. Is this an electric guitar or is this an electric bass?
That's a guitar because it has 6 tuning pegs on the head. So that's a guitar.
All right. So on electric guitar, we've got sunglasses on his face, cigarette hanging out of his mouth,
blasting a cig,
smoking a dart. E.T. the extraterrestrial.
That is correct.
This fucking rules.
We have Predator playing synths, a Xenomorph playing drums, and blasting a cig and sunglasses E.T. playing lead guitar.
All right, twitter.com.
It absolutely rules. Like, if we didn't need to do something more serious, I would suggest we use this as the episode, like album art.
Sure.
Or the episode art, rather. But we should probably do the actual cover to the game. Or maybe a screenshot from it. That might be cool. But
yeah, I know Twitter's dying, right?
Sure is.
I'm trying to find this band on Twitter so we can follow them. I'm going to hit it. Check Instagram later.
Also, I don't even know if you heard, but after today, it's not even going to be Twitter anymore.
Oh, I haven't heard. What is it going to be?
Oh, he announced that by the end of the day, the name of the website is going to be changed to X.
X?
Just the letter X.
All right. Follow us on X, everybody. Are you fucking... Is that for real? I can't...
I mean, okay, look. He said it. I don't necessarily know if it's real, but he did say it. All right.
Kenny, you got to get Instagram. I got to turn the Crew Expendable Instagram over to you, man. We're not doing...
I'm still going to fucking call it Twitter. I don't give a shit.
I know, but there's just nothing there anymore.
Yeah.
Not for us anyway. This band rules. They're on Facebook and SoundCloud. Fuck it. They're getting a Bandcamp link in the episode description also.
Well, on their Discogs page, there was a Bandcamp link, but when I clicked on it, I just got a 404. So I don't know if they have one or not.
Oh, they do. I'm on it right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put it in our private Discord so I can post that later.
That was all I had. Dude, you should have seen the way my face lit up when I saw that Alien Trilogy picture.
So
I
good.
immediately went, oh my God, I cannot fucking wait to show Neal this.
That's so good. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is not. You give me that Discogs link so that people can see that. That's what I should put in the episode description as well.
You got it. I'll look for it and find it.
It's gonna be a stacked episode description.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
We should probably wrap it up. My final take, kill 20 minutes, play some Alien Trilogy, punch in those cheat codes, level skip, have fun, see all this shit. Look for the EEV, look for the cryo chambers, look for the bone ship pilot.
That's right.
It's fun. It's fun. And if you like boomer shooters, if you like those old school FPS games, if that's your thing, if you haven't played this one, you're going to have some fun with it. It's hard as fuck. But it's fun.
It's hard and it's long.
It's hard and it's long. You get your money's worth, especially if you download it for free, like some people did, right?
Also, nobody clip out when I said it's hard and it's long. Please do not take that out of context.
That's going on the soundboard.
Nah, I shouldn't have said anything. Oh, well.
Yeah, that also depends on me finally getting around to setting up the soundboard for the show.
That's fair. We've been talking about it for like a year. That's a good point.
I gotta get the CoolerBot page first. Maybe I'll make that a CoolerBot line.
But anyway,
cool game. Play it.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't really play very much of it because I can't play FPSs. But the level design was confusing. But like I can see what they were trying to do. There's lots of enemies. The guns seemed like they when you shot something with a shotgun, it felt like you hit something with a shotgun.
Yes.
The graphics were pretty good for their time, and the CG cutscenes still hold up, in my opinion. It's definitely not like a canon game, but it's one of those things where they were like, we don't want to do the same thing. We don't want to tell the same story they already had. So we're just going to kind of riff on it and give them something new, which, I'm okay with. That's fine.
Yeah. It looks like Aliens. It sounds like Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Have some fun with it.
For sure.
Next episode, Kenny, we're going to get back to Alien Thaw. Issue 4 is out.
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
That's up on the docket next. It has been out for a little while by the time that episode comes out, but hey, give people more time to read it ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
Even though we will not be reading it until we record about it.
That's right.
After that, we'll do something as an interstitial because we have just closed the door on the Alien 3 section of the podcast. And pretty soon we'll be moving on to Alien Resurrection, which in addition to the movie and a novel and a non-canon comic book series featuring RoboCop,
Terminator,
featuring Terminator, also comes with a PlayStation era first-person shooter game that we'll be talking about. So, yeah, that's what we got loaded up for future episodes, of course, with breaks to talk about new Marvel comics or whatever we feel like when necessary.
That's right.
But yeah, this is it. Alien 3 is behind us, and we close it out with a video game that is primarily just aliens.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Give me that fucking survival horror Alien 3 game, though.
Dude, I would love that so much.
Are you kidding me?
Be such a great fucking game.
That would be cool. That would be fun. Right?
I would love it so much.
We got to figure out how to make a video game and get an alien license.
Dude, I have so many game ideas. You have no idea.
Kenny, where can people find you online?
Well, I'm still on Twitter. Because as of this recording, it is still called Twitter. Its name may or may not have changed by the time this comes out. But for now, it's still called Twitter, and I'm still going to call it Twitter regardless. I'm on there. My handle is at CYHOBBEZ. You can also find me on other various social media platforms, like, for instance, the PSN. And Neal, check this shit out. This is a bomb I'm dropping on you.
What?
Listeners, Neal had no idea about this.
What?
I'm also on Blue Sky now.
Holy shit. Kenny's on Blue Sky for all the Blue Sky heads out there.
Yeah, I got an invite to Blue Sky, and I was like, I barely use Twitter, and getting on Blue Sky is even rarer, so I may as well eat up one of those invite codes. So you can find me on Blue Sky. Handle is the same as it is on Twitter. Just get on Blue Sky, search that handle, and I'm right there. Currently, my display name is Kenny, the world's only podcaster.
Certainly the only one on Blue Sky.
That's correct. The only one, baby.
You can find me on Instagram at Final Neal Retro. I'm not really going to plug the Twitter or X because I don't use it.
Yeah, I barely use mine either, honestly.
You can find me there if you need to. And I do a Mortal Kombat podcast all about Mortal Kombat movies, comic books, TV shows, anything but the games. You can find that at mkpodquest.com. And I got another project coming down the line, which I'll announce when it's ready. Kenny, where can people find this show?
The website, we have a website. It's crewexpendable.net. And again, to plug earlier, if you want to send us an email, the email is mother@crewexpendable.net. Our Twitter handle is @crewexpendapod. Our Instagram handle is @crewexpendablepod. And I think that's it.
YouTube @Crew Expendable.
Yeah, youtube.com/@crewexpendable. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it, baby.
So go subscribe to this show in your podcast apps. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Send us tweets and Instagrams and emails and tell us what we got wrong or what we got right. Also,
preferably, honestly.
Tell us how much you like us. It's nice to hear.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'd be okay with that.
We will be back next episode to talk Marvel's Alien Thaw #4. I was about to say 4, and then I said Thaw instead. Alien Thaw #4. And until then, stay frosty.